What do you do? Well, we're so tied into our careers. A lot of times that's the first question people ask us, not what's your name, where you're from. What do you do? Well, especially I imagine if you're in public service or maybe you're in ministry or a teacher. I mean, that stuff is in your blood. Your career is in your blood. Think about sports people, though. People who have been in sports, how do they break into a new, different life? Well, we've got a great author here. Daryl Stinson wrote a book, Who Am I After Sports? An Athlete's Roadmap to Discover New Purpose and Live Fulfilled. He's represented by Author Academy Elite, and we welcome you, Daryl.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's gonna be fun.
What an interesting topic. I mean, we're so identified by, it's in our DNA almost what we do, what our careers are. And this is saying that the sports world, man, your best days aren't behind you, they're ahead of you, right?
Exactly. And it's the same thing for all of us. This pandemic that we've all gone through has caused a lot of people to have to close the chapter on the past. And they're
Mm,
asking the questions, who am I after retirement? Who am I after this career I've done for 20 years? Who am I after not being a
wow.
teacher anymore? Who am I after maybe, having to become a stay-at-home dad or a mom? Like it is a time where we're really trying to redefine our identity and figure out like what's new and how we want to show up for the rest of our lives.
Daryl, that is such a great point. I can't imagine a better time in our lifetime anyway to be able to speak on this. There are so many people I know that have either had to recreate themselves, um, build their own business. I mean, the pandemic really did a number on people. It's almost
Yeah.
like a mourning that you might go through, losing your past identity.
Absolutely. Anytime you've been doing something for a long time, in my case, it was sports and people that I coach, it's their company, it's their parenting role, whatever it is, we tend to attach our identity to our activity.
Mm.
And so what happens is when that activity, that job, that responsibility, that thing that we do gets taken away, it causes us to wonder, like, well, who am I without this thing? And
Mm.
those are all questions that the book helps to answer. It doesn't matter if you're an athlete. The stories that I share are specifically for athletes, but the principles are transferable to all.
I noticed one of the, really strong themes is early on accepting where you're
Mm.
at in your new life, not trying to hang on, not trying to, live through the old days and looking forward and really going through that process of acceptance.
Absolutely. It's the five stages of grief, just fast track. We want to get to a
Hmm.
place where we can really accept this new reality, but we have to let go of the past. And to do that, one of the quickest ways is to monitor your self-talk. Pay attention to your energy levels when you talk about the past versus when you talk about the future. If you're so excited about the glory days, but you're not as excited about your future, something may be wrong or something may be off in your heart, and it just requires some healing, some talking about. It's nothing to be ashamed about, but it's something to pay attention to so that you can live your best life.
Being excited about the future.
Mhm.
And people wanna feel needed, they wanna feel like they have a purpose. How
Mhm.
does that play into this?
Man, it's asking the inner questions. A lot of times we try to find purpose externally, but it really comes from within. It's digging into our hearts, learning what are our values. What would we do if we knew we could not fail? What would we do if we knew that people would unconditionally support us? What would we
Mhm.
do if we knew we didn't have to, face the pain of the past? Because a lot of people won't really step powerfully into their purpose because they know that's going to require them to confront their past. But you can confront
Mm.
your past fearlessly and step into your purpose, because your purpose and the people that you will impact is worth you overcoming that fear and that pain.
What did you have to learn? What did you have to do? What did you come from that you had to move into that taught you this lesson?
Well, originally I grew up in a small town called Jackson, Michigan. Do you know where that's at?
I've heard of it. I've never
It's
been there, but
do you know where Detroit is?
I do.
So it's about an hour and a half west of Detroit, and it's
Okay.
some people consider it a smaller Detroit. It was hard times, a low income community, and I came from the streets, and so for me, sports was the only pathway that I could see to succeed, being under resourced and definitely living in poverty. And so I made it Division 1 scholarship. I was supposed to be in the NFL. I'll never forget my coach looking at me, telling me it's not a matter of if I'll go to the NFL, it's just a matter of when. That was the level of my talent. And to make a long story short, I had emergency back surgery, and it took
Wow.
my opportunity to play at the next level away from me. And when that happened, I didn't know who I was after sports, you know. I had bought into the hype of what everyone believes in to achieve the American dream, which is that if you put your mind to something and that if you work hard every single day that you can accomplish anything. And I did that. I outworked everyone. I stayed up late. I woke up early. I was coachable, flexible, teachable,
Mhm.
all of those things. And yet here I was, a failure with nothing, broken and in pain, not even knowing what I was going to do and not even wanting to do anything different. I didn't want to succeed at anything else. I wanted to succeed at sports, but I had to let go of that and be open to a new possibility. And so after, fighting that internal battle for so long, I got addicted to the painkillers that I was prescribed to, and ultimately started to go down this downward spiral, thinking that since sports was over, that meant my life was over too. And I know some of our listeners might be thinking that
Yeah.
since this job is over, it's all downhill from
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
Since this relationship is gone and I lost this precious relationship in the pandemic, what's the future worth? Do I even really feel like going through with it? And I felt that. And I ended up in a psychiatric care facility from
Oh, Daryl.
multiple suicide attempts. And I'm so thankful that I was able to bounce back and
Yes.
carve a new path using the strategies that I list in my book.
Daryl, you really had to find a new dream because you were not able to go back physically, emotionally, mentally, in all ways. You had to find a new dream, and it looks to me like you've pursued speaking and helping people.
Yeah, absolutely. Because once you kind of go through that healing phase and you say, okay, what is it? I wanted to explore new possibilities, but I don't know exactly what. I've got a couple of different passions, I've got some ideas, but I don't know where to start. Start just by making a list of all your gifts and talents and passion and ask yourself this: what is the common denominator? Like, what is the
Mm,
driving factor that influences everything you do? Because
mhm.
why you do a thing is your purpose. What you do can always change, but why you do it usually doesn't. And it's beyond just I do it for my family or for my legacy. It's something unique to you.
One of the things I've loved so much about your story is that nobody's gonna look at this and go, "Yeah, but Daryl, my story's harder than yours." Wow, wow. You had it. Like, your story was written so that you can go, "There's nothing you can tell me that's harder than my story. There's nothing that's gonna surprise me. If I did it, you can do it." I mean, you are the epitome of, "Let's go. No excuses." I
Well,
mean, you've
thank
gotta
you.
get through hard times.
Well, thank you. And you do. And I will get people that will say, well, my story isn't as traumatic as that. So should I share it? And I say, yes, because your story
Mm.
is your story. And pain is relative. I have high pain tolerance. I went through a back surgery. I stepped on a nail the other day in my backyard trying to fix some stuff in the backyard. And I didn't cry. I mean, I yelled a little bit, but my daughters might, yell louder over just falling and barely scraping their knee. See, everyone has different
Yeah,
pain
but we're girls,
tolerance.
so it's a little bit
Well,
different
well,
sometimes.
that
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
matter.
I
And I'll
know,
tell you what, my
but you're
youngest
right.
girl is
Yeah.
the toughest one.
Is
She
she really?
cries. Oh my gosh. I'm like, she has the most injuries and cries the least. And so she
So it's a
just doesn't
mindset,
stop.
isn't it? I mean,
It is
it's
a
a mindset.
mindset.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we've gotta start wrapping up, but if you were to give a message to someone who's listening to this going, "Wow, Daryl, you're hitting a nerve because my career ended when the pandemic came." What is something that you would say to them?
Other than the umbrella phrase of there's always hope on the other side of your pain, I would take that a level further and just say that there's also purpose in your pain. A
Mhm.
lot of people want
Oh,
to get out of it instead of get from the pain the lessons and the light that they can learn and share with others. And so I would just encourage you that if you're going through pain right now, know that there's not just purpose after pain, there's actually purpose in pain. And there's things you're going through right now that may seem disconnected, it may seem insignificant, it may seem pointless. But in retrospect, just like the other life trials that you've been through in the past, you
mhm.
know that if it's not a loss, because you can turn every loss into a lesson. And so just keep extracting the wisdom from your current season,
Okay.
documenting it, journaling, and get ready to be able to share that with others because storms do not last always.
Daryl, real quick, your website to get your book.
At Stinson Speaks.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.